There was the peaceful rest of Montrose Harbor, and there was the kid getting bum-ass by the subways, running around the subways and not getting anything accomplished, and then going to his mom's house and laying down in his mom's bed and just not doing anything because Chase Park was filled with faggots and Chicago was filled with faggots and stuff in Chirac. But if he had taken his camera onto the red line, he wouldn't be limited because he would be growing with his eyes. And on the metro train, he would be going with his music. So as long as the kid kept stepping forward and didn't get stuck on his MP3 player trying to write lyrics and having the same instrumentals and stuff like that, as long as he kept moving forward, he would be good. How many young artists had rode the red line with their MP3s, writing music, only to not do nothing but with the ears of Beethoven Reese and Little Mike's ears of the Pages in Virginia? The kid was writing melodies with lyrics that could take his mind places so that he could explore new avenues of artistry, charisma, and filmmaking. So the kid, even though he talked about things and he would talk about things like a double and things like that, but writing stuff was not always, it didn't always come out the way that he artistically visualized it, because he kept saying that his music was so good and stuff like that. But how good really was it? For example, the melody instrumentals that were from Malcolm X 2012, that he was still sitting in there, but how much had Little Mike really grown? I ain't tripping cause it's all my way. I'm here with you, take it cause it's the end of the day. I wonder if it's you because it's all my time and all the and because it's all in your hip time and all these years. And how good was Little Mike's melodies? And I can see two avenues, one pitch and one pitch but two and pitch, cause I can say if you organize those two melodies, one inside of the chorus and then one inside of the verse, then you can have that sound that take with you and take with you because all my love, all is touch with you and all my dreams, all I see you do cause it's a fantasy and I say for it's you in your life and you will know clearly cause all that you were doing and you see it with your dreams and I'ma do it and I'm seeing where it's all when you say all what you do, see it cause it's all. And the kid had to stress syllables. How good was Little Mike's film? Oh, when my melody and it's playing, and it was just like his melodies were just like being in his house with his mom and laying in his mom's room, not accomplishing anything and feeling like a grown man in his house and riding on the avenues of the metro train, writing music and progressing. Because the kid got in times when he started just eating and not going to Chase Park because it was full of faggots and getting in the apothecary of the white man because the apothecary of the white man was only there. The apothecary of the white man was only there because the kid had no friends that was in the same level as him. And you know what that meant? The young Felicia and the young Elizabeth who loved Little Mike and loved him with their heart, but it had come to the point where every daddy and their son had tried to step into Little Mike's soul and say see and make humor off of Little Mike. But his melodies were just like sometimes he was laying in his mom's house and he said he thought that he couldn't progress, he couldn't go on. But other times he was laying in his mom's house writing pictures with the vision of the spring, but the vision of the spring was ending when every time it was a new attack from the Vigilantes, because every time Little Mike broke free, they gnashed their teeth in the obituary of the U.S. They said, it's not fair. I'm going to do this anyway. I don't care if I lost. You can't touch me. You can't scold me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I don't care if I lost. I'm a faggot. And they was like that. And so the spring madness of the kids' April music rush was ended because the Vigilantes said, we gonna play with his sexuality, we gonna do what we do, we obituary of the U.S., we don't give a shit, we don't give a crap, we gonna do what we gonna do. But Little Mike's melody sometimes, but he had to break it into a melody and come from his heart. That's where his melody, sometimes his melodies came from his mind, but his melodies really came from his heart, from his vision of the woman that he had developed since 2014. And the butterfly effect, instead of it was la 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 la. La 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 la. And his music came and it came alive. So let's see. This is a song from Little Mike's mind. Girl, they say it's all those years, all those fears, and all the time. You can see it so went by. You can see it so entwined. Baby, with your hair and all in all your fantasy. Baby, when it's here with me, you and me. Oh, cause that's sweet man. Here's the Little Mike Pilar with his musical vision. Girl, cause I'm gonna give you all my love and see you in my dreams, and when it's you and never before. And you can see with you and see with you in your dreams, because all that time, all that mine, baby, I'ma make you mine. All that sun, all that time, with you and this emotions, girl. So Lil Mike had that vision like that, and his music came alive. Instead of just being an instrumental, listening to it on the train, it became Little Mike, the descent of Pilar, and his emotions and melodies for his girl. But then the peace of Little Mike. Reigned because all the ones that had attacked him in 2014 and said, oh, that's his Marvin, and they try to make an excuse for attacking Little Mike. He had rocked the bitch out of them, and their peace reigned above their soul, but they hated the fact that Little Mike's peace reigned above their soul. And they said, nah, we not gonna let that happen, but really they were safe in the system and they had no business in Little Mike's business, so what made them get into Little Mike's business? What made them get into Little Mike's business and try to destroy the ranks of Little Mike? Because their eyes were open and they hated the fact that Little Mike had rocked the bitch out of them into freedom and into glory. So the more melodies that the kid worked on each of his songs, but he had to organize it, but his computer wasn't playing the MP4 files. But the more that he pressed the button, took out his phone, and your dream, and recorded melodies to them. In your dreams, and I can see it in your heart. So you had the melody of the track, and that was the tempo, but then you had the soul of Little Mike and the vocals of, and the straining, the types of strains that Little Mike had. In my dream, and you could see it, cause it's a melody, but it wasn't like that. He had, it was a way that he painted, a style that he painted his on the beat, so that the beat wouldn't lead him, but he took the beat and he took it from an emotional meaning to an Agrello sounding song that talk like, says and what you say, I ain't thinking what you say, and stuff like that. So let's see, Amazon. And I'll get with you some more. But then when the Velahonti started trying to stop Little Mike, that's when he got into his depressions, where he laid in his room and he didn't produce anything. But the thing was, for music, the kid needed the descent of Little Mike to stand and write his songs and stuff like that. But in the times when the Velahonti wasn't creating his music and being energy and putting energy in Little Mike's music, that's when he could work on his films. And that's when Little Mike could work on his films and take pictures of places and build his artistic vision. Because his songs were an industry in itself, but his films were the soul. It wasn't about being an industry, but it was about touching hearts. And his songs made people happy, and he had touched a lot of people's heart walking down the street and singing since 2014, and they loved him. And his vocals was a big part for his films, but his vocals were also a big part of his films. But his vocals were also a reason of the melodies and the notes that he strained and hit, and the composition and composure and collection and arrangement and collaboration of the sound of the different melodies that he made in his song from I and the different collaborations that he made in his songs because of his vocals in real life that came from singing to people about in his CB songs and in his Usher songs. I'm twisted cause one side of me is telling me. So it came all into the kids' influences. It's something about you that makes me want to say, oh, and all the sounds that the kid got. Because the kid used to, in 2014, he said, I want to hit the notes like C Brown. I don't want to be the weak singers. So he sung like C Brown. And then he said, I want to be like Usher. I don't want to be like them weak niggas. So he sang like that. And that's what consisted of his R&B beat and instrumental. And the more Little Mike understood about why he wanted to make music that touched his heart and that came from the musical history of Little Mike, from Job Corps, from Little Mike Amundsen to Truman Middle College, to Virginia, to Child Corps Choir, to Virginia Hospitals, to Chicago 2X, Chris Brown Rebuttal 2015, Rodney Rebuttal 2015, 2016 Kentucky Notes, and the musical breakthroughs of 2016 of the C Browns, in which consisted of why he made music from his heart, and a lot of the loneliness that he had from not having friends, and a lot of the loneliness that he had from not having the girl to love him, because the high schools were and because Little Mike had fought for his vision, they said, oh, he's the lonely one, and they try to make snare against Little Mike, but he became the one that the woman loved. And the woman really loved Little Mike. And he loved him back, but God had a really super, super, super special girl for Little Mike for all those years. But they try to destroy the soul because before he could get that. And they push and rampage with gnashing their teeth in the history of the U.S. But sometimes
introducing the Galaxy S8 with an infinity screen that gives you less to hold.
sometimes Little Mike was on his tablet. And he didn't feel like going out and stuff like that because his mom was going to get home. But if only he could just incorporate the feelings of his mom coming home and being the work of the house in his music and his art and his films, then he would be fine in life to just be at rest and be at peace. But Little Mike had to remind himself why he isolated himself to the instrumentals of YouTube. Because it was a beautiful thing and everybody agreed. Everybody and their mama agreed that the kids should be making music. But he had to remind the reason, because he didn't want to just be some famous guy. He wanted his West Side girl, the one who loved him the most since in his youth, because he wasn't young anymore. The Villahanti had tried to take his youth, but God said, sit your crybaby self down. And God gave the youth back to Little Mike. And Donegan, that's why Boo Boo Donegan hated it. Because the peace was rocked into their soul. And they gnashed their teeth, and that's why, because they were claiming to be, oh, we gonna do this, but the peace was rocked into their soul. That's why they weren't at peace, and that's why they kept trying to use the system to get into Little Mike's stuff. They should be ashamed of themselves. But the bitchery of the U.S., we ain't gonna be ashamed, we don't care. We gonna do what we gonna do. But Little Mike had to remind himself the odds. The heart of the West Side of Little Mike. The heart of the West Side of Little Mike. In the eyes of Shamar Reese and Pilar. Come on, man. In the eyes of Shamar Reese 2009 and Pilar that contributed to his animation and his film writing. But the emotions of the pages of Little Mike, that was his soul. They were safe in the system. They were fine. Little Mike was the one without a father. He was the one who had been bullied growing up. He was the one with emotional damage. He was the one who got called names. He was the one who didn't have friends. He was the one who wanted his girl. But they gnashed their teeth and they said, Armand too. What type of the bitchery of the U.S. that couldn't be defined? Oh, snap. And the loveliness of the woman of Pilar, of Little Mike's stories. But the bitchery of the U.S., we gonna steal our films. You can't do that to us. You can't. No, you can't. We gonna do what we gonna do. We don't care. We gonna do it anyway. The bitchery of the U.S. Undefined. Sometimes Little Mike had the vision for his stories. But when the butchery of the U.S. went through, he was a grown man. A grown man in his mother's house. In the apocryphy of Truman College, what wasn't to stop those faggots and the bombs that the Little Mike had grown up with? And now him being in that position, what was to stop Little Mike? Or what was to stop the bombs from intervening in Little Mike's stories and music? Because the Villahanti, they treated the free. We ain't gonna give up. We not gonna stop. We don't care if we lost. We don't care. We don't care if we lost. We don't care. We not gonna stop. And that was the state that the U.S. was in. But the kid had to remind himself of his soul, of how bad he wanted it. But the bitch of the U.S. said, no, we go ourselves. We see. After getting, we don't care. You can't do that to us. You can't gnash us. We can't. And they gnashed their teeth for Little Mike. But then at the same time, they said also too. But who the fuck told you that you could do that? We can't do it. We big and bad. We big and okay. You gonna be big bad? Somebody gonna get big bad with you and don't get all emotional when people gas you back. And you act like you stupid, don't know what's going on. And the kid in Virginia that was on his own. There was only one girl that Little Mike had liked. There was only one girl that Little Mike had liked. But at the same time, there was only one girl that Little Mike had liked. But at the same time, she had rejected Morris. And she had rejected Morris and said and treated him on the internet. She had rejected Morris and treated him on the internet, so he felt bad. But he had to get out of her business. And he felt bad because he had to get out her business and then leave treated and stuff like that. But that's when Little Mike, that's why he made his music. That's why he played ball. And that's why it was such a beautiful melody of Little Mike's heart. But those faggot bitchery of the U.S. also too. What the fuck? Who told you, your faggot ass, that you could be reaching to people stuff like that anyway? And that was the piece of Bell. Bell said, Reese, I promise on my life, you're going to get through this free. Because it was the soul of bombs that they tried to compare Little Mike to. But Little Mike wasn't going. He was a young adventurer, a young brave kid, the one who roamed through the Pirates Bay in the dangerous section of Montrose Harbor. In the night of 2014, when it was all people claiming that nigga said, what's up? So Little Mike's films came back, and maybe God remembers, said, Reese, I remember your soul from your youth. For who told you that I forgot about you growing up, that you're not a bum? Who told you? But the mind of Little Mike have been destroyed by the churches trying to make their dick bigger. Off of the soul of the Little Mike, trying to destroy his soul because they want to make their dick bigger. But Truman and Uptown was filled with bombs. All the girls had moved out, and all the rest of the girls had been sexed up. Since 2000, 9, the girls had been sexed up, let alone, and now in 2016, all the people in Uptown became aware of Little Mike and his dreams, and they said our dreams too, because they were mad that Little Mike was gonna get his wife to be, and it was supposed to be, and Mac Breezy, but Breezy rejected the kid, but the kid had become better. And his films from 2016, Cavill Lake, Kentucky. How dangerously bad was the media of the kid? Yeah. Alrighty. Got the kid. So basically, his mom was taking care of him now. He was getting back into the order of his mom. Because on his own, all he could be was a goon. Because everybody and his dad wanted to fight him, but the kid was brave. And the kid was brave, and he had fought his way through the films and the white people on the site. They tried to get him in Kentucky. They said, we gonna get you, but he rocked the bitch out of them. He rocked the living bitch out of them. So that they had no power, and they tried to make threats at his mom, but nobody was going for that bullshit no more. Cause nigga, he made the best shows in history. The kid had Dre Michelle looking nice, touched her life and looking pretty and beautiful, and had her show cracking. It made that show look like booty and shit. But Little Mike, they try to claim you smarter than Little Mike. They try to claim in 2014, 2015, 2016. The kid had rocked the bitch out of them. And the kid's literature consisted of capturing times in the kid's blind side. And capturing times in the kid's blind side. Like when he was in his house, in his mom's house. And capturing those times and putting it into his films and his literature. Into the story of Cubby and all the history of Little Mike. And that's when Donegan, Malcolm X, Clergy, Church, IC, Amundsen Job Corps, Virginia government, all clergy came into Little Mike's films. And they said, we ain't gonna allow that. It's not fair. We gonna gnash in the mystery of the U.S. And the kid could see stuff in this film, like the dawn in this picture. The dawn was too early. The dawn had to be a little bit later to be in the evening of the night sky, other than to say a picture of a time when man was on his way home. Other than the dawning to say, hello, I'm dawning now. You could see the beauty. Yeah? Yeah, Mom. Marvin told her,